Fox News alert. The woke indoctrination of your children continues. A shocking new video from Project Veritas showing a teacher bragging about exposing his students to sex toys, and it gets worse. Here's a preview, but we got to warn you, it's fairly graphic.
How old were the kids at the classroom?
14, 18. They're like, how does this book work? How do we do, how does this work? So yeah, that's a really cool part of my job is I don't have to worry about.
Project Veritas confronted that teacher, and we'll show you that video as well. That's straight ahead. Now, a sickening story out of Chicago tonight where Project Veritas caught the dean of students at an elite private school bragging about exposing his teenage students to sex toys. We got to warn you, this is all pretty graphic. Take a look.
During Pride, we do a Pride Week every year, and I had our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
How old were the kids at the classroom?
14, 18. They're like, how does this book work? How do we do, how does this work? So yeah, that's a really cool part of my job is I don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Now, despite these pretty disgusting comments, the William F. Parker School is actually defending the dean, saying in a statement, in part, quote, he was filmed without his knowledge or permission while describing one example of our inclusive LGBTQ plus affirming and comprehensive approach to sex education. We're also learning more about the far-left indoctrination going on inside of the school. For example, the school has what is called affinity groups for students as young as 4 years old that white students are not permitted to attend. You can't make that up. Here with reaction, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. You know, Tammy, I'm old-fashioned, reading, writing, math, science, history, computers. How about parents do their job and instill the values?
Well, that's it. Parents are the moral arbiters of their children, as we've seen over this last year, 2 years with COVID. They've made a statement. They don't want to be co-parenting with state agents or schools or strangers who are teachers who are not involved with the family. But bottom line is, these are minors. And many of the audience know this, many do not. I'm a gay woman. I've been a gay woman for a long time. And let me tell you something. We hear all the time about how the gays want to get the children. No, we don't. This has nothing to do with sex education or homosexuality or transgenderism. None of that has anything to do with going after children. We are now watching certain adults, certainly marginal extremists, in an attempt to validate our own adult issues, using children to do that. It is obscene, it's unacceptable, and for everyone, every parent, many of whom are being misled by activists and others who are interested in cultivating minors into a certain framework, is that this is not at all what the gay civil rights movement was about. It is not about what homosexuality is. None of that. And I want to make it everyone to be clear on this so that they're not misled by this kind of a dynamic.
Greg.
You know, there's two things going on here. First of all, showing children, perhaps as young as 4, sex toys, sexual objects, how-to instruction, and so forth. The remedy for parents who are understandably outraged at this is to yank your kid from the school. It's a private school. Stop paying $40,000 a year for an elite education that doesn't appear to be elite at all. The second part of the equation here, these affinity groups that are sanctioned by the school that exclude white students. Yes, it's a private school. Nevertheless, there may be a violation of Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act if this school is receiving, as many private schools do, public funding. And it's probably a violation of the 1972 Education Amendment. But most of all, the Supreme Court has interpreted Section 1981 as saying you can't discriminate based on race, even if you're a private school.
Yeah. Well, and we have a big case in the Supreme Court, too, on admissions that I'm sure all three of us will be talking about. Great. Thank you. Tammy, as always, thank you, too.
I had like our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Meet Joe Bruno, Dean of Students at the prestigious Francis W. Parker Private School in Chicago, which happens to charge $40,000 per student.
They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're like, how does this butt plug work? How do we do, like, how does this work? That's a really, like, cool part of my job.
Parents might be stunned to learn that Bruno's version of love and acceptance means handing out sex toys to underage students.
So I've been the dean for 4 years. During Pride, we do a Pride Week every year. And I had like our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Who is this?
This is an LGBTQ plus health center came in to talk to my high school students. They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're looking at them.
In the school?
In a classroom.
Wow.
Yeah. While I'm sitting there. And we had a drag queen come in, pass out cookies and brownies and do photos.
That's so amazing. And everybody's cool with that, like the butt plugs and the dildos. Nobody complains.
No,
I mean, if the parents found out, would they?
no, it's queer sex. This is the drag queen that came in,
What's her name?
Alexis Bevels,
Alexis Bevel.
and just hung out in my classroom,
And was there?
or hung out in my office.
You have so much freedom and so much wiggle room.
So much freedom, so much money
I mean, having
to
lube
do
and
stuff.
trustees are okay with that too? They don't know.
They would. It's like I wouldn't even like run it by them. Like, why would I run it by them? They'd be like, "Oh my God, that's wonderful."
Like, how old were the kids with the classroom?
14, 18. They're like, how does this butt plug work? How do we do, like, how does this work?
Right.
So yeah, that's a really like cool part of my job is I don't have to worry about stuff like that.